Unmute yourself and let us know.
Yes, aloha kako. So sorry, I just had tremendous technical difficulties with WebEx.
You're not
I'm
the only
in
one.
now. Oh, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Okay, we can admit everyone who might be still waiting and go ahead and when they're in, I'll call the meeting to order. Please, someone let me know when everybody's present.
Okay, so we don't have a quorum yet.
We do have quorum.
We do.
actually.
Oh,
It was-
excellent, excellent. Okay.
I'm just thinking about the public or other guests who might be also waiting in the lobby.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone should be admitted in from the lobby, Chair.
We're good. Okay, very good. It's
Thank you.
By my clock, 11:47. We're going to call to order the meeting of the Honolulu Ethics Commission. And my apologies to anyone who was waiting out there without knowing that we were having some technical difficulties with getting everybody connected on WebEx. This is the first of what I hope will be no more than 2 all virtual meetings, and maybe the only one if we're fortunate, due to the ongoing office renovations of the Ethics Commission offices, which, by the way, I want to commend the staff for putting up with after having already tolerated a very long wait for the work to begin. Now the work has begun, and it's even harder on you folks. So thank you very much for your patience and for your working around all of these obstacles. I hope we can get through it with minimal stress.
Indeed.
Thank you. Also, I'm going to mention up front that I will be absent for the April meeting, and that therefore Vice Chair Rice will be chairing that meeting in my absence. So I'm just going to, assuming that we might be virtual again, or all virtual again, I will model that style of meeting by saying that at this point we have quorum. I'm going to take a quorum count, but maybe I'll do that now. Start with the quorum count before we go on and discuss anything else. In this framework, I think it's best that everybody individually speak up when asked to vote or when asked to say that they're present. So Vice Chair Rice.
I here.
Okay. Commissioner Adler.
Here.
Commissioner Marks. Commissioner Soimori. Commissioner Jimon.
Present.
Am I missing anybody other than Commissioner Soimori, who is having trouble connecting? Anyway, we do have quorum. So if at any point anybody loses their WebEx connection among the commissioners specifically, and we lose quorum, which is a minimum of 4 commissioners in the meeting at any given time, then we will take 10 minutes to do our best to reconnect with anyone who's dropped out. And if after 10 minutes we can't reconnect to achieve a quorum, then we would have to immediately adjourn the meeting. In that case, I don't know, I haven't planned ahead for that. I'm going to suggest that we might consider using our backup meeting date in March, for example, and call a new meeting then to take up unfinished business if necessary. But if not, then we would have to adjourn until the April meeting. Anyway, we hope none of that is necessary. Let's see. I'm going to mention to the public, if any are here, that if you would wish to testify at any time during the meeting, we will welcome your testimony up to 3 minutes on any given item. And if you do wish to testify, you can do so at the time that the meeting comes up in the agenda, or if you prefer to present testimony now, please let us know. And at the end of the meeting, I'll offer again to let anybody testify who didn't manage to get in at any other point in the meeting. There is a potential executive session in this meeting. We'll decide at the time it comes up in the agenda whether to actually go into executive session. And at that point, we will excuse everybody to the lobby except commissioners. And then after executive session, we would reconvene and have any action items discussed in executive session explained in open session, and then call for any last comments before we adjourn the meeting. Other than that, let's see. I'm going to leave until the appropriate item in the agenda, the front page article in this morning's Star Advertiser, but I'm just say I'm very glad to see us getting some positive attention in such a prominent place. And I think that you all, commissioners, did you all get the additional distribution? There was one item of public testimony. If you did not, please so indicate, and we'll ask staff to make sure that you have it before we get to that point in the agenda. Okay, I think we're ready to move on to the open session minutes of the December 20th meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes before we discuss?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Marks moves, Jim on seconds. I did spot one typo for correction. I don't remember, Leland, you can remind me where in the minutes it falls, but there was a word typed as inquires that should have been inquiries.
It was on, Chair, if I may, this is Jan.
Yes, go ahead.
It was on page 4, item D, paragraph 4. The word is inquires. It should be inquiries. And so that change would be made before the minutes are posted.
So we'll amend the motion to approve the minutes as amended, and if there are
Thank
any
you.
other changes, anybody wish to make any other corrections or changes to the minutes, please speak up now. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to take a roll call vote on approval of the minutes. Vice Chair Rice.
Aye.
Commissioner Jimon.
Yes.
Commissioner Marks.
Yes.
Commissioner Adler.
Yes.
Is Commissioner Soimori with us?
Leland is currently on the phone with her right now.
Okay, I think we have approval with the, and the chair votes yes, so we have unanimous approval of those present. All right, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Executive Director and Legal Counsel, Jane Yamane.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to start on slide 5, take up the issue of the office renovation. We have waited a long time for this renovation, 3 fiscal years at this point. It has started. We've had many different schedule changes, so it looks like the work is going to be done at least through April. They tell us that they hope it's going to be faster, but we'll have to wait and see. It's a little difficult for us to get into our offices. Again, we apologize for this virtual only meeting, but we are literally zippering in and out of our doors. The doors are covered with plastic sheeting, and access to the office has been limited to certain days when the contractors are working at night. At other times they work during the day, and so we have to be a little bit aware of not entering or limiting our time in the office so as not to get in their way. If there's anything that any commissioners need from us to retrieve from our offices, we can do it, but please, we beg a little patience. It is a little difficult to work under these circumstances, but we'll make it happen. You know, we're looking forward to our new space, and it's already starting to look very good. I'll move on to the work report summary, which are in your meeting materials. Moving on then to slide 6, having to do with financial disclosure filings. I kind of want to turn this over. Yes, we can hear you, Commissioner Soimori.
Oh, good. Okay, so you can't visualize, I know you can't, but I just used your phone link to get in because
Okay.
I couldn't get in anywhere. So I'm on phone. But
Okay,
is that
wonderful.
good? Is that not good because you can't see me?
No, that's fine. And we'll note that you arrived at 11:57 to the meeting. Good morning.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. I'm on.
Thank you.
Okay,
And we
okay.
just started 10 minutes ago, so you're actually
I know,
almost
I've
on
been
time.
Talk to the
And if we need any votes, Aline, we're going to call for them by roll call, so you'll have a chance to be heard.
Okay, thanks.
So let me pick up again with slide 6. Financial disclosure filings, as you know, we're in our filing period. The deadline was January 31st. We're happy to see that the clerk's office has completed their public disclosures. All of them have been received. We're still not quite there yet. We're still reviewing quite a few. You'll see that the number that was indicated on slide 6 for the employees is actually larger than the number shown. We believe those are potentially either duplicate filings or other kinds of errors in the system. As you know, all of you filed via the new FinD system. We've had both positive and negative comments on it. So working through that process. I wanted Eric, Associate Legal Counsel Eric Irwin, to provide other updates. Go ahead, Eric.
Hi, good morning, Chair and Commissioners. So the updates that we'll have, I think is just, it's almost a rehash of what Jan said. There have been positive parts to it and negative parts to it, but there is a gap between, some people haven't filed, and I think some of the issues that we have is just encountering the new system. And we've taken a very hands-on approach. We've been calling them, working with people in those instances, and we've actually whittled down this number. About half of the Board and Commission members since last Wednesday have filed as a direct result of our outreach. In addition to that, I think it's really created some close relationships with some of the departments. And, with the training that Terry and I did at the end of last year, one particular example I do want to share is the HART board actually invited us back to do another presentation, to do an update. And since the system has went active, and it was a very lively discussion. We had, again, positive and negative, but we had questions even from the staff there at the HART board. And so it was a very positive interaction, and we were able to address a lot of the concerns. And that board has pretty much completely filed, and they've been very involved with us. So the commissioners have been calling, we've had staff call. And so our relationship with that department and others has been strengthened just through this process. And so although there is a little bit of trouble, a little bit of adversity as we go switching to a new system, there have been some very positive aspects to it. And that's pretty much all I want to share. Is I think that we're heading in the right direction, and we've had some good results.
Thank you very
I
much.
just comment that I just this morning received a confirmation of the acceptance of my filing by emails. Of course, because it's a new system, we never had that before. And it's very nice to have. It also includes as an attachment a PDF of my filing, so I can verify the information was correct as accepted. So that's, I think, a plus for the new system as well.
Now, we're not there yet, but we understand that next year, whatever filing you made this year will auto-populate into the form next year. If that is true, and we won't know until we actually get to that time next year, you may be making amendments only and then refiling or resubmitting the form. So we're hoping that this first year is the most painful, where you have to actually enter everything, but subsequent to this year, we're hoping that it's going to auto-populate. That's what we've been told
Looking
from
forward to
information
that.
technology. Yes, yes. Going to slide 7 on lobbyists. We are also in our lobbyist filing period. The deadline was January 10th. We still have some outstanding. Anybody that that registered as a lobbyist last year owes us an annual report. The registrations don't necessarily can fluctuate over the course of the year as people actually lobby at the city. So that number is less important than the annual report filings. Any registered lobbyist should give us an annual report. And so we're going to be starting to reach out to these lobbyists to see if we can't encourage them to file. Our motto this year was 100% compliance on all of our filings. So we're still working towards that goal. You'll see in slide 8 that there are requests for advice. 25 received in December, 30 received in January. We are still working with tweaking our new database called Dalima. There have been a lot of little bumps and hiccups along the way, you know, thanks to all of the legal clerks, the attorneys, anybody, investigators, anybody on our staff who's been working with that system. There have been some bumps, and we're continuing to refine it. So these numbers hopefully will be easier to pull in the future. I'll move to slide 9 on investigations. Again, you'll see that the new cases received, the number has dropped significantly, and we again are still not sure why. We are still marching down the pathway. Investigators are clearing old cases that have been sitting, you know, dormant for some time. So our thanks out to the investigators for doing that kind of work. Again, I wanted to turn to Associate Legal Counsel Eric Irwin. I think he had something to share and kind of some more positive feedback and interaction with departments. So go ahead, Eric.
You know, I think this is I think it's just a continuation of what I said with it. So I don't really have too much more to add, but it's those relationships we've really had a lot of feedback. Oh, I do recall one other thing, and it's not connected to the HART training or the financial disclosure training. So building upon that, we have had a lot more interaction with boards across the city with those RFAs and questions. But one other aspect that we had was we recently had a case, and we had we had some findings, and what we did was an educational contact to the individual, but we also did a memo to the department itself. So we gave this memo to the department, and we were just hoping to identify an issue and maybe cut off some potential problems moving forward. Now, the department created their own memo based on that and disseminated it throughout this particular department. And from that, we had additional interaction with some of the employees that reached out to us for clarification. It's a complicated issue that we dealt with. I can't really share too many details, but we were able to provide clarity and avoid kind of that cloud of, you know, people paralyzed by fear. Oh, this is a memo that came out. This was an issue that we encountered. We can't act in a certain way. But instead of doing that, they felt comfortable enough to come to us with questions. And we had several questions based off of that kind of trail, our memo that turned into their memo. And we were able to kind of allay some of those fears and really provide some good guidance on that. So that's another positive feedback that we had resulting from not only the trainings that we've done, but also the enforcement side. So we're trying to really combine that outreach, that soft touch that, you know, Jan and Lori and the whole department have been really pushing. And so we're kind of making some headway on that. So that's a last positive thing I have, but I'll hand it back. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the statistics or anything? If not, we'll move on to education and outreach. And I'll pass the mic to Kirsten Aoyagi, our training specialist.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's been pretty busy since the last time we had a meeting. So to get started, the mandatory ethics training was released last month. For city employees, it was released on the 26th of January. And for board and commission, it was released on the 25th of January. And so far, out of the about 10,695 employees, 3,078 have done their training, which is actually a really great number. So hopefully it will continue to increase. And then the board and commission, which is on the next slide. Out of the about 202, 18 have completed their ethics training, which is not a great number, but hopefully we can get that coming up some more as the training continues. On to the next slide, please. So there has been a lot of scheduling. We now have pop-up events scheduled for the rest of the year. We're doing it each one each quarter, so we have 4. Kapala Mahale was our first one, and that happened exactly a week ago. It was a really great turnout. There was about 35 people who came to our table and just was asking like, oh, who are we and what do we do, and more information. 2 of them were RFAs, so that was great, and a little bit of an interesting moment, but we had a barbershop quartet sing for us as well, which was something that we didn't all expect, but it was great. They sang us a beautiful song, and I think it was a really great turnout. Jan, if you want to add anything, or Lori.
Well, it was Valentine's Day, and we found out that one of the employees up in one of the departments here at Kapala Mahale belongs to a barbershop quartet with his father. And so they had come to serenade the department, but we managed to ask them like, "Oh, you want to sing for us?" So the lobby has great acoustics, nothing to hold any of that sound. So it was just wonderful. So it made for a very, I told Kirsten, I was like, well, this is clearly the best pop-up event ever, because we had the barbershop quartet sing, and it was Valentine's Day. But it was a fun event. Managed to have a lot of people stop by. We put out our word search and crossword puzzles. And for those folks who actually completed it, they won a lanyard. So they came back and they collected their prize. So Cassandra and Lori were also on the table. I think Eric was there also for a short time. So anybody else want to offer up comments?
It was actually an unsolicited offer to sing.
Oh, I thought we had asked them to sing for us.
No,
They're still
were outside practicing, and they came in and they offered to, to sing. It was definitely the highlight, I think, of that day.
hearing you.
Uh-oh, how about now? Can you hear me?
That's better.
Okay, I guess I have to lean in. I'm not in the office right now, so I'm going from a different location. How about now?
Even better.
That's better.
Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, we also have 3 other pop-up events for this year. We're going to have one at Honolulu Hale on May 15th, the FMB building on August 28th, and then Kapolei Hale again on October 9th. And we are already thinking about next year, which I know it's so far ahead, but we're already thinking of like other locations to have these pop-up events. We're thinking of Board of Water Supply, the Halawa Base Yard, and I believe even the zoo, just for a fun outreach table event. Something that isn't on here yet, which just happened recently, is we're trying to do some outreach tours for the year. We are thinking of doing them one every quarter, but quarter 1's kind of almost ending. So we're already looking at quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. We have one tentatively scheduled for Board of Water Supply on September 13th. And then we also have an official one for ENV on October 22nd. If any of the commissioners and chairs would like to join us that day, we will be learning about, what H-Power is, what they do, and we'll also be getting a cool tour about it. So I think it'll be a fun day. Moving on to the next slide.
Sorry, can you just repeat that date?
Oh, the ENV tour is October 22nd.
Give us a reminder closer to the date, please, Will.
Yes, I am going to email when the date is closer. I know it's so far ahead.
Also, before we move on, I may have missed it, but I had a contact from Parks and Recreation, which I referred to staff about setting up something for that department. Have they moved ahead with that?
That I am not sure of. I don't think it was brought to my attention, but we can go ahead and look into it.
Okay, I'll look back if you need any more information, Jan, to pursue that, let me know.
Okay, thank you very much. If nothing else, they are located in Kapolei. Their main office is there. So
Even better, yeah.
yeah, so we'll be there in October, but if they wanted something more specific or at a different location, then we do know that parks are all over the island, not just
Yeah, this was
Kapolei.
actually a regional supervisor who was reaching out on behalf of their region. But
Okay.
I thought it might be better rather than, and she wanted to invite me personally to come and talk to them. I thought it might be better managed through the normal channels that you all have.
Okay, I will follow up. I think that's, oh no, Kirsten, you have your compass still?
Yes. So we released our first newsletter of the year on February 1st, which was about kind of like a general guide of who we are and what we do, just so that people can kind of have like a simple reading to figure out who we are and what we do. And it was great. We released it to everyone. And yeah, we also have a new newsletter design. It's more updated. I feel like it fits a bit more. So yeah. And we also have a tentative schedule for newsletters. I feel like releasing them more consistently will be a great idea. So we released one in February. We're going to release one in April, July, August, and September. And then we also have our BOPs completely scheduled for the year. We're going to have one March, so that will be next month, June, and we're going to have one in the beginning of October and at the end of October.
Could you explain what that is, please?
Oh, yes. So BOPs are back of pay subs. Basically, whenever you get a paycheck or a pay stub, there is information on the back, kind of like a flyer. It could also be a newsletter of just any information. So I believe any department can go ahead and reserve those. So we reserved March, June, and the 2 in October.
Great. So I just want to interject that looping back to the earlier report on investigations and the number of new concerns being so low, I think we don't yet have enough data to conclude that that low number is a result of our education and outreach efforts, but I hope so, at least in part. And I think that as we continue to do that, hopefully the new concerns will also continue to remain low as a reflection of better understanding by officers and staff of their ethical obligations. Thank you.
All right, then I'll jump in. Something I wanted to mention, and Kirsten is very humble here. The new design for the newsletter is actually her work. She brings with her photography, graphic skills. She has a wealth of new talents and techniques, technical and otherwise, that she's managed to already blend into our work, and we're so excited to see these new products. The photograph of the stars and everything above on the top of the newsletter, it's in your meeting materials.
Mm-hmm.
She actually took that picture. She formatted and put this newsletter together herself. So she's, we're looking forward to all of the things that she can do. I've told her that we need a photo log, a photo morgue of things around the city, events that the city puts on. I know the surf season's kind of up, the lifeguards are busy. There's all kinds of opportunities for us to capture, whether it's via video or on camera. So we're looking forward to all of the things that she can do for our outreach program. So thank you.
Yes, I'm very impressed. Thank you. And I look forward to working with you on some of this. It's great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
looks
It's
good.
been really fun. Yeah, it's been really fun working with her because she brings so many fresh ideas. I know that I've seen 4 and 5 versions of things for us to choose from, select, different formats, font sizes, make sure that they're easy to read, stand out on the page or, on a screen. Even the black or the grayscale, just in case, somebody prints it in black and white and doesn't have color. So it's a whole new world for us. So, we really look forward to working with her more.
Very good.
I'll move to slide 14 then. This is actually the heading on this slide should be legislation, Bill 26 on gifts. And this is the additional distribution that was handed out earlier and posted to our website is testimony for this matter. So I don't know whether Ms. Iwasa is present at this meeting. If not, then I will, refer everyone to her written testimony. Assistant Executive Director and Legal Counsel Laurie Wong Nowinski, do you want to handle this matter?
Sure. Actually, Chair Monk, did you want to speak first on your op-ed piece?
Why don't you go ahead and update us, Lori, and then I'll jump in afterwards.
Oh, okay, sure. How about now? Can you hear me better now? I plugged into a.
Yes, much
Okay, I
better.
see
Yes.
people nodding. Okay, great. So as some of you may be aware, Bill 26 relates to our gifts law, and basically the commission has been discussing this since about October of 2019. And it's taken all this time to get to Bill 26, which was originally introduced in April of 2022. It was introduced, there was a first reading on it, and then it was in Executive Matters and Legal Affairs postponed since about August of 2022. From what I understand, there's a 2-year cycle, and the bill will die, so to speak, if we don't get it back onto the City Council Executive Matters and Legal Affairs agenda before this coming April. So we're really trying to make a push to get this back on the agenda. Chair, as well as myself and Executive Director Yamane, we have met with Councilmember Dos Santos Tam and his staff. Well, we didn't all 3 of us meet him at the same time, but we have met with him over the course of the last month or so, trying to see if we could work together to move this bill along. Councilmember had some concerns over the first draft that we submitted. Primarily one was in regard to the definition of prohibited source. He thought that was overly broad. So we tried to work with him on narrowing that language down a bit, make it more narrowly tailored. And his second concern was about one of our exemptions, which was on being able to receive a lay of quote unquote negligible value. And in our definition in the proposed law, the negligible value is $25. His concern was, well, with the cost of everything these days, it's hard to get very much for $25, let alone, most floral lays. So in working with him on that, we submitted, or Executive Director Yamane submitted a letter that proposed new language for the definitions and the exemption. And also, as requested by him and his staff, all the research that we had done, basically things that were discussed at Ethics Commission meetings, so excerpts of minutes and the meeting materials that supported all of that as well. So I want to say altogether, I know it was about 5 megabytes of data, but altogether it was a letter and there are about 8 attachments to it. And that went out on Friday to Councilmember. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, and the next Executive Matter Legal Affairs committee meeting, I believe it is on, it's either March 5th or 6th. So to get on the agenda for that, their agenda would go out on February 28th. So that's currently the status on that. And, you know, my thanks go out to Chair Monk and also to Executive Director Yamani for, you know, resurrecting, so to speak, this matter and trying to move it ahead. So, mahalo.
Chair Monk, I believe you're muted.
You're absolutely right. Thank you. That was because the trash truck was just going by outside. Yeah, thank you, Lori. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam is chair of the Executive Matters and Legal Affairs Committee, so he's a key member of council for the purposes of this bill. And I did speak individually with him and with Chair Waters, and they were both, at least my impression was, they were both very favorably inclined to try to move this forward and not let it die of old age on the calendar. So thanks to Jan and Laurie for continuing to help with this. The research that Laurie mentioned was done on behalf of the Permitted Interaction Group that actually drafted the proposed bill that we sent to Chair Waters and that he eventually introduced. And it was very extensive, and it was primarily done by a senior member of the University of Hawaii staff who was just coincidentally doing an internship with us in order to fulfill her, I'm not entirely sure what, civic action or something, responsibilities to maintain her her board membership or something like that.
It was a law school internship, if I remember right.
Yeah, something
Correct.
along those lines, but she did just outstanding work, which we all benefited from. And it's reflected in our draft of that bill. And I think the changes that you're talking about with Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, Laurie, I think those do not significantly damage the intent of the bill as we see it. I also want to thank Ian Bauer, who I think is here this morning with us, and the Star Advertiser for giving us some very prominent, in fact, front page attention in this morning's Star Advertiser. It's so rare to see the Ethics Commission elevated to that level of public attention in a good way. So we're very pleased with that. My op-ed that he quotes from extensively appeared, I don't remember the exact date, but it was in January. I think it was distributed in the meeting materials. Even though I don't think I said anything the least bit controversial in it, I was expecting a certain amount of blowback just because of my experience over the last few years, seeing public reaction to anything about ethics issues, government ethics issues. There's always a few cynics who have to say something nasty about how everybody in government is corrupt in response to whatever is published. So surprisingly for me, at least, there was none of that. There was one public comment that I know of under the Star Advertiser article, and that was, if I remember the gist of it, basically a mild grumble that, oh geez, now it's going to be illegal even to say thank you. And so I didn't take that too seriously. And there was one phone call to the commission asking to speak with me. I called that person back, and he also had no complaint about my article. It just stimulated him to say what was on his mind about the pay raises for the city council that he thought were unduly large. And I said that wasn't really a matter the commission could deal with, that, you know, he needed to take his concerns about that elsewhere, and I wished him well and he wished me well. So I think we're well served by this morning's article. I hope it generates more public comment and maybe more public attendance at our future meetings. So that's all I'll say about that. I am optimistic for this bill's prospects in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
For all the outreach they've been doing and
Sorry, Chair Marks, can't hear you very well. Chair Emeritus Marks, I should say.
I just want to say, you know, I really appreciate all the outreach that the staff has done. I think that's been very helpful, and I think that the change in terms of focusing on education has made a big difference.
Oh, and before I forget, I did want to acknowledge the written testimony submitted by Natalie Iwasa. She submitted her testimony on her own behalf, and I believe it's in the meeting materials. Natalie is a member of the HART board, and she has very specific concerns about whether the HART board members are potentially subject to this legislation, depending on whether their appointment is from the city or from the state. That's a peculiarity of the structure of the HART board, and she has ongoing issues with that, which I think if you want to learn more about that, you can find online by doing a search. But I personally don't believe that those issues are an impediment to proceeding with this legislation as is for now. If there needs to be some future adjustment to the legislation based on the definition of board membership in HART, we can address that at a later date. But if some members are under city ethics rules and some members are under state ethics rules, that doesn't bother me, because the state ethics rules about gifts are also pretty strict. So I think that we can, while I thank Ms. Iwasa for her testimony and I acknowledge her concern, I personally don't feel that we need to. And this is, by the way, and this is a discussion, not an action item on the agenda. So we're not going to be taking any votes today on this subject. So I think we can proceed.
David, just to bring things maybe a little full circle, when the PIG met on the gifts items, Ms. Iwasa opposed some of our suggestions because she thought that members of the community ought to be able to give gifts, baked goods, what have you, to thank people thank city employees for the work they do.
Right, now that you mentioned it, I recall that, but she does not bring that up in her current testimony. Thank you. I think we can move on then. Unless somebody else has a comment, any commissioners want to add anything? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Well, then we'll move to slide 15. There is the Council on Governmental Ethics Laws, an association of good government agencies across the country at numerous different levels of municipal, local, state. They did have a reconnect on February 13th. That was virtual. I believe Vice Chair Rice and Assistant Executive Director Wong Nowinski attended. I don't know if any of you or both of you want to report.
I found it illuminating and informative, and I'm very motivated to attend the next conference.
Great.
Thank you.
I also enjoyed seeing the folks from Kogel. They broke us up into groups based on our disciplines. They asked us about ideas for next year, but a lot of it was also getting feedback about the conference for this past year, which was in Kansas City, Missouri.
What I found interesting, and I'm sure Lori, you did too, is that they actually mentioned that the two of us were present from Hawaii. And yes, very continent oriented, quite East Coast, East West, not much in the middle. But I think maybe they got the idea that, you know, we are part of this program and that our problems are a little unique, but still very relevant to the overall agenda and focus and mission of Kogel. So I hope we can play a more visible role in the future.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Thank you. Then I'll move on to slide 16. These are dates for upcoming conferences. More, just save the dates if you're interested in attending. The Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics, SCCE, is in Grapevine, Texas, in September, and Kogel's conference is in December. It's always in the coldest month, but this year it's in Los Angeles, so it won't be as cold as it was
No
this
hardship.
past year in Kansas City.
Or in Montreal the year before.
Yes, it was very cold in Montreal. Let's see. Moving on to slide 17 for discussion of the policy on referral of ethics concerns to law enforcement. There is a policy that is in your meeting materials. The commission actually penned the procedure language, and we added the policy statement. It is posted to our website, and it is here for your information only.
I like that it's nice and tight. It's very concise, easy to understand.
Yes. And then finally, I believe there's two items regarding staff training and development having to do with team building and conflict management exercises on slides 18 and 19. What is the commission's pleasure to discuss first and then possibly move into executive session?
Yeah, I'd like to, in open session, I would just like to bring up the general subject and invite commissioners to comment if they wish. Basically, this stems from an earlier effort to introduce last year for the first time the 360-degree evaluation process for the executive director and legal counsel with an invitation for staff on a voluntary basis to participate in the process and submit their own comments, which commissioners would then be able to take into consideration in doing our evaluation, which is an annual thing. And as a follow-up to that first effort, we invited staff to give us their feedback, and I explicitly offered to speak individually and confidentially with any staff who wished to do so, to get their comments on the process. And some did reach out to me, and I spoke with them, and I'm maintaining their confidentiality. And but I will say that I very much appreciate the opportunity to hear from those that I did speak with. I think that everybody's comments were thoughtful and helpful, at least for me. If we do choose to go into executive session on this topic, I will do everything I can to maintain that confidentiality during executive session as well. So I very much value their input. But because the process itself, I think, revealed that there have been some growing pains as we've filled out the staff from, I think it was 4 total staff when I joined in 2017 to now a total complement of 11. And especially with the added stress of the really tight office space, inadequate office space, frankly, and awaiting this long delayed renovation, and now with the renovation itself ongoing, I think it just raises everybody's stress levels, and inevitably in a new or mostly new team like this, there are going to be some frictions that come up, and so some of us, most prominently Commissioner Adler, who has more experience in these sorts of things than I do, thought that it might be a good idea to try a team building and conflict management exercise And hopefully with an outside expert who would be willing to provide it on a pro bono basis, since we really don't have budget for this. So let me invite Commissioner Adler to talk a little bit about that. Peter, you're muted.
Sorry about that. You know, I know Vicky and Tadia probably could also weigh in on some of this, but I just want to say that conflict is quite normal. We tend to think of it as something bad, which is, and I think of it as something that's inevitable and it's always there. And it's all about how we manage it and handle it and deal with it organizationally and interpersonally. So and it's not something to be afraid of. And many of you have been through one or another team building type exercises. And I would hope that there would be something that would be welcome and it won't be too painful. And nobody will make you hug and kiss unless you want to.
I love it. If I can throw my 2 cents in with Commissioner Adler's, you know, the whole point of an organization is to have a unified, to be unified in their mission. And often trying to seek unity amongst people with just basic, you know, human dynamics, you have disunity and you have to get through the disunity to get to the unity. And there's process and steps that are scientifically based. And it's just something that I agree, we just have to face. This is working together with people. We all have baggage, we all have our personal stuff, we all have our work styles. And to try and integrate all of that takes work. It takes implementing a way of getting to know one another and understanding these things. So I absolutely echo everything. And I also want to say that in my opinion, I think that commissioners, it's incumbent upon commissioners to be part of this team. We cannot be seen as above or below. We are part of the team as well. We have a certain difference in function, but really we should be accessible to anybody. And we need to know our own limits and our own status, know where to draw our lines with particular scenarios. But I think it's incumbent upon us to be part of this. I think it'll help working relations amongst everyone, because the reality is we commissioners have to get to know each other. So it's no different than staff who have to get to know each other. So I thank you, Commissioner or Chair Monk and Commissioner Adler for your input. And I'm very happy to contribute whatever I can to the process.
Thank you. And I will also give a shout out to Commissioner Marks, who has been helpful as we've gone through this process up till this point. And I also want to point out or add that all of the above being an aspiration, we don't overlook substantive issues that may come up that need to be addressed on their own merits. This is not only about process. That, you know, those of you who may have concerns that actually impact your own performance or the performance of the commission as you see it from your own individual position as a commissioner or as a member of the staff. This is not to minimize those substantive matters that also obviously should be addressed on their own merits. So anybody else want to contribute at this point before we talk about a possible executive session?
Yeah, this is Marks. I just think it's a good idea and I'm happy to participate and would look forward to engaging in such an exercise, if you will.
Great. And I think we would reserve it for absolutely no sooner than the completion of all renovation work. We can't possibly, I think, even consider trying to schedule something while the renovation's going on. We need to get people back into a relatively normal functioning machine before we attempt to address something like this, which is a little bit extracurricular, but you know, maybe give everybody a little time back in the office before we try to put this on the schedule.
But I
Da-
do hope
David?
it's clear that all staff and personnel can call any one of us who's willing to put ourselves available with issues, because during the renovation, you have a whole different environment to deal with, and that can
Sure.
also cause additional stress and conflict. So I just want to make sure that staff knows they can reach out to those of us commissioners who want to hear what you want to say.
Right, and I think that goes for most, if not all of us. Thank you.
And David, I would agree with you if the time frame for the renovation stays on track, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that. So we
Right.
might want to do it a little sooner, but find another location to hold it.
Something off-site, but
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that we need to be able to schedule it so that absolutely, I would be inclined maybe to be a little bit forgiving of commissioners if their schedules don't allow, but I would want to try to get all staff unanimously involved and should be no more than a 1-day exercise, right?
Oh, yeah, maybe more like a half day. I
Or
don't
a
know.
half day, yeah, I
Peter
don't know.
might have more insight on length of time.
Well, there are different ways to structure such a day, and in our outreach to find the right person to help with this, we can explore that. It's also dependent on finding someone who will do this at no cost. And it may be that the commission participates in some of it, but not all of it. I mean, there are different ways to set this thing up.
Yeah,
So that's something to be worked on.
Okay. Can we encourage you, Peter, to and maybe Tadia, if you know folks that might be interested in contributing in this way, to
Sure.
talk to each other and
Sure.
maybe reach out to some people at least on a tentative basis and see whether you get positive responses.
Yep.
And
Good.
if I may add,
Yes, please.
when we do get to the point of scheduling, Leland is probably our best point of contact for all of that.
Sure.
Between knowing all of staff's schedules and then liaising with commissioners on their schedules, it's a pretty big task. So I would encourage that Leland be included when it gets to the point of scheduling. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And so our next item is to consider whether we should go into executive session. I'll read this from the agenda so that it's clear. For discussion, should the Ethics Commission exercise its discretion to consider staff input on personnel issues? And then the next sub-item under this item is the following agenda item will be reviewed in executive session pursuant to Hawaii Revised Statutes, Section 92-5A2, to consider the hire, evaluation, dismissal, or discipline of an officer or employee, or if charges brought against the officer or employee where consideration of matters affecting privacy will be involved. So as I said earlier, this is basically for the benefit of those commissioners who have not been necessarily personally involved in the confidential discussions that I mentioned earlier, to just bring them up to speed in general terms about some of the underlying problems or issues that have helped to motivate us to seek out this training session. And again, I continue to pledge to maintain confidentiality for those who have spoken with me about their own personal issues. So can I have a motion, please, to go into executive session?
So moved.
I'll make the motion, and some staff have contacted me, and I also agree with you, David, regarding maintaining confidentiality.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have both Commissioners Marks and Adler have moved. Let's give one of them the motion and the other the session.
I'll be a second. I'll be a second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion before we vote to move into executive session? And after we vote, I'll just talk about the mechanics of that a bit.
Can I just ask a question? So this is just for the commissioners, correct? Everyone
Correct.
else is out.
Commissioners only, right? Everybody else
Okay.
will be asked to move to the lobby and we'll reconvene everybody back in open session afterwards. This should be brief. I don't expect it to take a long time. And actually, since we're talking about that, before we vote, I'll just say that the plan is, assuming we do go into executive session, that when we're finished, I will text Executive Director Yamane and Leland to let them know that we're done and that they can readmit everybody from the lobby to an open session.
I think for my purposes, I'm just going to bow out and not come back if that's okay with everyone.
That's fine. Thank you, Moana. Yeah,
Thank
I don't
you.
think we have any. I don't think we have an action item from this session. It's purely informational, so there probably won't be a motion executed.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion before I take a roll call on an executive session? Okay, we're going to take the vote. Vice Chair Rice.
Aye.
Commissioner Marks. Your microphone is off.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Adler.
Yes.
Commissioner Jimon.
Yes.
Commissioner Soimori. Commissioner Soimori, are you there? I am.
Yes.
I think Commissioner Soimori votes yes. Chair votes yes. It's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. We will see you on the other side. It shouldn't take very long at all. Thank you.
One request, Chair Monk, when you come out of executive session, could somebody
Yes.
please, for the purposes of the minutes, remember who made the motion, who made the second, and then the vote?
Right, it was Mark.
No, when you come
Oh,
out
to
of
come out.
executive
Oh, to
session.
come out. Okay,
Right,
right. We
because
do have to take a
only
motion for that
commissioners will be,
purpose.
yeah, only commissioners
right.
will be in for that.
Glad
So,
to do
thank
so.
you.
We'll let you know.
Thank you.
We're standing by now while everybody moves to the lobby except commissioners.
Erin, as soon as we get the text from Chair as well, I will text you too.
Okay.
Coming out of executive session was motion made by Marks, seconded Adler, unanimous vote.
Got it. Thank you.
Leland, can you figure out who the host is?
And Allison had figured that out, that she was on, I'm not too sure, Allison, if you're on 2 different devices at home, because some of our staff are remote, yeah.
Yeah, I see Allison by name on the window, so that's not an Ethics Commission window.
But I see Allison, I think it's Allison under Ethics Commissioner or Ethics Commission as host.
No, there's no names for the Ethics Commission hosts. The
I
3 of
am-
them.
I
This
see
is-
one.
This is
Oh,
Erin. I am
I see.
one of the Ethics Commission hosts. I'm doing a dual session, one remote login, so I don't have the video and audio, and then one on a personal device for the video and audio.
Okay.
There's still one more.
So you remained on throughout executive session, Allison, in the host, in the commission status.
Allison, are you there by chance? And I see one more person, Seishi Layu from Council Services, still in the lobby. Okay to let him back in?
Yeah, anybody who's in the
Yes,
lobby, please.
yes,
please let
because
them
we're
know.
back in open session.
Under Allison's Ethics Commission, she's muted. So I don't know if she's trying to talk to us or not.
How can you tell it's Allison's? I can't tell on my.
Because I'm
it just
looking
says
at
that-
her.
You see her face?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't see
You
her.
don't?
Oh,
Well, maybe
no.
it's my settings. I do my settings where I can see here everything. It's all in your settings for WebEx, and
Yeah,
WebEx
sure.
is not as easy as Zoom.
No.
David, I have a hard stop coming up at 1, so I'm gonna need to finish.
At 2, it's
Or-
1:43.
I'm sorry, at 2 o'clock. I meant 2
Yeah.
o'clock.
Fair enough. I hope we can finish by then. Apologies to everybody to whom I said this was going to be a short executive session. Almost, well, I would say 3/4 of the time was spent on trying to resolve technical issues. So it was not that long a discussion, but it still took much longer than I had intended, and I sincerely apologize for making people wait. Anyhow, we have essentially no action coming out of executive session. It was purely a discussion. And so I think at this point, I'm going to ask if anybody has any public testimony that they wanted to submit and didn't get a chance to do while we were open previously. So please unmute yourself and speak up. I don't see anyone.
Did we also, just a quick question, lose Commissioner Sue Mori during
Oh,
executive
Commissioner
session?
Sue, yes, she had to leave during executive session. She had a schedule conflict, so we did lose her.
Left at
Thank you.
1:30.
1:30?
Right, right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on.
So
Okay,
Allison is twice on my screen. One is commission and one with nothing but her name.
right. There's no video on Allison's window with her name.
No
I-
audio, no video.
I don't see anybody in the Ethics Commission co-host window. Leland's video cuts in and out. I see him now. He's also listed as Ethics Commission co-host.
I'm gonna move that we adjourn the meeting.
Right.
I think so. The next meeting,
Second.
the next scheduled meeting of the commission will be on Wednesday, April 17th. There is a slight possibility we could call for an urgent meeting in March. There's a reserve date in March, but I, at this point, doubt that that's going to happen. If it does happen, we will announce it publicly. And in the meantime, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Marks.
Second.
Marcus seconded.
Right. Any objection?
No.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Jan, I'll call you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.